Welcome back to Ben's Top 11. And when I was a kid, scaring people wasn't considered evil. Welcome to the first installment of Octoberfest, where I do Halloween-themed videos for the whole month of October. Of all the holidays we have, Halloween is my favorite. That's right, I like Halloween more than Christmas. Screw that holly jolly crap. I like the creepy, scary stuff. One of my favorite parts of Halloween is its overall theme that deals with fear and what scares us. Sadly, I'm an adult, so fun things don't scare me anymore. Now, I'm just afraid of real life related things. Ah! Back, demon! Back from whence you came! So, to start off Octoberfest, I thought it would be cool for me to revisit the things that scared the Flintstone vitamins out of me when I was little. I made a list of the top 11 things that when I was a kid made me run from my TV, but as an adult, still make me run from my TV. So, get ready for me to bring your nightmares back. Here is my top 11 scariest moments from my childhood. Number 11. The Joker from Batman the Animated Series. For those of you who are afraid of clowns, I feel your pain. The Joker is without a doubt one of the greatest comic book villains ever, as well as the most sadistic. So, when Batman the Animated Series was created, it brought Batman back to his dark roots, and it did the same thing for his villains too. I watched this show as a kid, and I was always scared when the Joker was in it. You see, I loved clowns as a kid, so seeing an evil clown gave me uncomfortable feelings. Him always smiling, his evil plans, and his ruthless persona always gave me the jitters. However, if there's one thing about this character that made him be put on this list, it's his laugh. His evil, conniving, spine-tingling laugh. Every time I heard it, I would put my covers over my head. It's a laugh that you never want to hear when you're all alone in a dark room. And it's only a laugh that the great Mark Hamill could execute. Thanks for the nightmares, you deuce. Anyway, I put the Joker low on this list because he's not really scary to me anymore. In fact, I find him hilarious. I know, I'm a sick person. However, that doesn't change the fact that the Clown Prince of Crime gave me the shivers as a kid, and he'll always be there with the things that scared me as a kid. Number 10. The Skeksis from the Dark Crystal. Here's something that is only one time I can remember that I ran to my mom crying because it scared me so much. I remember my mom saw this movie was airing on TV, and she thought I would like it, so she sat me in front of it and let me watch the movie. However, once I saw those dang Skeksis, I was bawling my eyes out. I was just frightened by them, standing there, looking really menacing, and the dark voice narrating over them that didn't help make them look at all more kid-friendly. Watching the movie again at an older age, I love it. I just couldn't believe the opening frightened me so much when I was a kid. Anyway, even though they are somewhat less scary when the movie continues, the first time we see the Skeksis and the Dark Crystal made me scared to death. And my mom having to find another movie for me to watch that afternoon. Number 9. The Woods from Snow White. Brace yourselves. This is only the first Disney movie to make it on the list. So, here we have a sweet, innocent movie that is one of the greatest animated films ever made. It's full of happy songs, colorful characters, and beautiful animation. And trucked up, nightmare-inducing, scary scenes. So, this scene happens after Snow White is told to run away by a man who is sent to kill her. She runs into some dark woods and starts to see things differently. The trees have evil faces, and they look like they're trying to reach out to grab her, and the logs in the river turn into alligators. On top of this, you have Snow White's facial expressions and booming music to amp the fear factor up. Jeez Louise, Disney! This scene really changed me as a person. That one person you know that never wants to go into the woods because it scares them? Well, I was one of those people. This scene made me think that if I go into the woods, trees would try to eat me and logs would turn into alligators. What's even more frightening is the fact that I'm surrounded by woods where I live. So, I was constantly afraid something was going to pop out of them when I was growing up. Thankfully, I grew out of this fear, so I'm no longer afraid of the woods. I'm just afraid of Holy crap, there's a coyote outside! Dexter! Dexter! Number 8. Talos from Jason and the Argonauts. There's a funny story behind this. This movie is one of my mom's favorite movies, and she saw it was on TV one time when I was little. So, she asked me if I wanted to watch it because she knew I loved monster movies. So, I sat down with her, and I was bored for the first half an hour. I was sitting there waiting for a monster to appear. Well, at the point they land on the island and they see the statue of Talos, I didn't even think that was going to be the first monster to appear, and I thought he was just there to look cool. However, when the characters look up at him and he moved for the first time, I crapped my pants. I did not see that coming. However, he kept moving and he continued to give me the creeps. His slow-moving body mixed with the metallic noises he makes was enough to scare me as a child. However, I was fascinated at the same time because I was finally able to see a monster in this movie, but man was his first appearance frightening. This scene solidifies Ray Harryhausen's talent. He's able to make a monster both terrifying and awesome to look at the same time. Still, he scared the crap out of me. Number 7. The Flying Monkeys from The Wizard of Oz. Ah, The Wizard of Oz. One of my favorite movies from my childhood, and one of my favorite films of all time. It's full of color, imagination, charm, and nightmare-inducing moments that would cause the wrong kid to go mentally insane. Now, this movie does have its share of scary moments. The tornado in Kansas, the Wicked Witch, the talking trees, but the one thing that made me go running under my bed was the flying monkeys. Okay, so the witch has a flying monkey that follows her around for a majority of the movie. However, when Dorothy and her friends are in the forest, the witch is ready to attack her. She says something to her hench monkey that confused me when I was a kid, and that line is, "Take your army to the haunted forest." As a kid, I'm thinking, army? That means a lot of guys, right? I had no idea what was coming next. And then the witch tells her pretties to fly, and I saw a bunch of these things flying by the window. In the next shot, it shows a low shot of the monkeys descending from the sky, and then they make their attack. Holy spit! This scene made me afraid of monkeys for the longest time. Could you imagine walking around casually one day, and these things descending from the sky and chasing after you? Yeah, I apologize for making you feel uncomfortable. Anyway, the flying monkeys were something that made me glad that monkeys can't fly. Number 6. The Scariest from Godzilla 1985. We're diving into what made up 75% of my childhood. Godzilla 1985 was one of the last Godzilla movies that I needed to see when I was little. I watched it for the first time, and I knew just from the opening music that this wasn't going to be a movie where Godzilla's fighting evil monsters. Anyway, there's a scene about 15 minutes into the movie where a guy sees a boat floating in the water, and he goes on it. He sees that most of the crew is dead, and out of nowhere, this thing attacks him! Sweet mother of pearl! That thing is terrifying! You folks don't know this, but I've been afraid of bugs for most of my life, so seeing this thing at a young age would definitely solidify my fear for creepy crawlies. I've done further research, and this is actually a form of sea lice that was mutated from Godzilla's radiation. That makes me happy for two things. Thank Zeus we don't live in the ocean, and thank goodness we don't drop radioactive weapons all over the place. Number 5. Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Kinda predictable, but can you blame me? I'm sure this scene scared anybody who saw it as a kid. So, Pee-wee hitches a ride on a semi that's driven by an old lady. She proceeds to tell a story about the worst car crash she's ever seen. It all leads up to her making this freaky stop-motion face that is aided by what sounds like a Looney Tunes sound effect. Sweet Christmas! Sweet Halloween! Talk about shock! You don't see this coming if you watch this movie without further knowledge of it. You know what the funny part is? I didn't see this movie at a very young age. I saw it when I was 12, and it still scared the Kellogg's out of me. The fact that this scene scared somebody who was on the edge of puberty just shows how scary of a scene it is. Number 4. Medusa from Clash of the Titans. Yet another Harryhausen creation that scared the platelets out of me. In this movie, Perseus and his men go into the temple of Medusa because Perseus needs her head to defeat the Kraken. He goes into the temple, and Medusa slithers in with her rattling tail, moving snake hairs, and cold staring eyes. Her appearance was already frightening to me, but little did I know, it was only the beginning. Medusa then slithers around and sees Perseus' soldiers and shoots them with arrows. Holy crap! This snake lady is packing! However, the key part that really made my spinal cord dance a jig was when she looked into the eyes of one of Perseus' men and turned him into stone. Holy smoly, that was freaky. Eventually, Perseus cuts her head off, and I cheered to finally see that freak of Greek mythology was killed, and I wouldn't have nightmares for that night. Number 3. The Pink Elephants from Dumbo. Disney strikes again! So, in the middle of the film, Dumbo, the title character gets drunk and sees these floating elephants with black eyes come out of nowhere, and they sing a haunting tune about who they are, and none of the lyrics make sense, so I don't know what they mean. Anyway, this scene used to creep me out. No, not because the elephants came out of nowhere. No, not because they have black eyes, but because they were pink. To any manly boy growing up, pink is worse than seeing blood. To boys, pink was the symbol of girls who we thought were evil at the time. So, I saw this scene and thought it had some meaning that girls had a bunch of pink elephants that they were going to use to stomp on boys and kill us all. Hey, I had a weird imagination when I was little. Anyway, it's funny now seeing as how pink is my favorite color, so I look back on this now and laugh about it. However, I understand my past self perfectly. When you see pink everywhere, you fear that your manliness is going to be taken away from you. Number 2. Lampwick's donkey transformation in Disney's Pinocchio. Oh my gosh, this scene. So, in the middle of the movie, Pinocchio is taken to an island called Pleasure Island, where boys are able to do whatever the heck they want and not get in trouble for it. However, this island has a dark secret. After Jiminy Cricket is unsuccessfully able to get Pinocchio to come back with him, he sees that this guy is putting donkeys in crates, but there are some donkeys that are able to speak. Jiminy then comes to the conclusion that the boys are turning into donkeys, and he runs to save Pinocchio before he can transform. At this point, we know that something's going to happen to Lampwick, who is Pinocchio's friend. So, back at the pool hall where Pinocchio and Lampwick are hanging out, Lampwick slowly starts to turn into a donkey. The start of this transformation is done kinda comedically. As Lampwick's body parts start to donkeyfy, Pinocchio shoves his cigar and his beer away as if to say, "I've got to quit doing this stuff." Then, Pinocchio laughs at Lampwick for how he looks, and Lampwick turns around and sees himself in the mirror. And it's no laughing matter from this point. Lampwick then runs around screaming for help. I was scared as a kid because here Lampwick was acting all tough, and now he's running around begging for help. However, it gets worse. Lampwick then gets on his knees and begs Pinocchio to help him. He grabs onto Pinocchio's shirt, and his hands then turn into hooves right in front of our eyes. Okay, nightmares are coming on. But the coup de grace. Lampwick then makes one final call of terror for his mother before his transformation is complete, and he hee-haws and kicks objects around the pool hall as Pinocchio watches in fear. Jiminy freaking Jillikers! Yeah, I'm sure after any growing boy who saw this scene never did anything bad again. I know I didn't. This scene is frightening enough to convince any kid never to be bad. Do I need to remind you this came from the magical world of Disney? Disney, teaching kids that being bad is wrong by scaring the butterfingers out of them. Number 1. The number one thing that scared me as a kid is something that's so scary that it scares me as an adult. It's something so terrifying that I wouldn't be surprised if Charles Manson himself came up with it. Sure, it's something that you normally think wouldn't scare somebody, but you're not thinking clearly if you think that. This certain something may look so sweet and innocent on the outside, but on the inside, it has bad intentions. Horrible intentions. Satanic intentions. This certain thing had me sucking my thumb while holding a Godzilla toy when I was little. I had to constantly ask my mom to check my closet for this certain thing. However, I think it's time to quit being such a baby. I'm a 19-year-old man, dang it. I shouldn't let something this ridiculous frighten me. So, after all these years, I'm finally going to conquer this fear. So, reveal the demon from the depths of hell that has frightened me for too long!
I love you, you love me. We're a happy family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too?